What should you do if a family member relapses? Let's talk about it. As an expert in addiction recovery, I've seen countless relapses. And I've got to say, one of the toughest positions to be in is being a family member of an addict, especially when they relapse. There's some very important things that you need to do when your loved one relapses. I'm going to show you what those things are, and I'm going to show you how they work to actually create movement forward in terms of helping the addict get into recovery. Before I talk about what to do, I'm going to talk about the common things that people do that really don't work. But it's normal to do these things. So if you've ever done this when a family member has relapsed, don't beat yourself up. It's normal. It's a natural reaction, but they just don't work. So one of the first things that's common is to pretend like it didn't really happen, is to hide your head in the sand and to just try not to talk about it. Now, the addict will love that. They'll want to not talk about it because they'll be in a lot of shame and it'll be an uncomfortable thing to talk about. But it's a problem. You're actually supporting them in their addiction and in their secrecy when you don't have the fortitude to actually step up and have these hard conversations with them. Another thing that is not helpful is to beat them up, is to tell them how horrible they are for what they've done, to drive home how awful it is that they do this. Now, the reason why it's not helpful is because they already feel massive amounts of shame. Now, you might be thinking, oh, my addict loved one, they don't feel shame. They never feel shame. Well, that's just a front. Their front is, it's a hard exterior. They're trying to show how much it doesn't affect them. But when you go to them and you say, you're horrible, you're awful, why do you do these things? It doesn't help them move forward. It just drives actually the root of the addiction, which is that they don't love themselves and they have a hard time connecting to others. So understand that beating them up and persecuting them does not help. Another thing that doesn't help, but it's very common, is going into fear and control. What that means is you may start to hover over their recovery. Watch everything that they do. Make sure that they never do it again. And it's a natural reaction because when they relapse, it hurts you. It affects your life because you love them. So you want to force it and make sure that they don't do it anymore. There's a big problem with that. And the problem is you can't control them not to relapse. Their recovery work and their relapse prevention work has to come from them. So you can do a lot of other things, but forcing them out of fear and control doesn't help. None of these things are effective to help the addict get back on track and back into recovery. So I'm going to talk about what does work and what is effective. But before I do, please subscribe to my channel and make sure you like this video. Let's talk about what actually works to support an addict who has relapsed. Now, I'm going to say some things and you might roll your eyes and think, yeah, right, okay. But listen to the end, because doing all these things together actually works. The first thing to do is meet them with love. Now, I get it. Addicts can be really, really difficult. They can be hard. They've manipulated you. They've lied to you. They've stolen from you. They've done all kinds of horrific things. So it can be really hard to love them, but that's what they need right now. So first and foremost, try to have compassion for their struggle, compassion for their addiction, because if you're wanting to help them, you're going to have some rapport. The way you build rapport and trust with them is by them feeling some love from you. Now, just because you're meeting them with love does not mean that you're not going to have boundaries. You're going to need boundaries through this process. But first, meet them with love. Second, be honest with them about your emotions. So I know I said don't beat them up. And what I mean by that is don't tell them how horrible they are. But they need to feel the consequences of their behaviors. Be honest with them about how it makes you feel. How hurt you are, how scared you are, even maybe how angry you are. But try to express that anger in a way that you're loving them. But be honest with them about how you feel. It's scary to you that they're relapsing. The third thing is to hold boundaries and to hold consequences with them. Now, I say consequences, not punishments. So if they've stolen from you, if they've betrayed you, if they've hurt you in any way, don't just smile and say it's okay, because it's not okay. And you need to be able to say, because these things have happened, this is what I'm going to need to do to take care of me and to make sure that this doesn't happen anymore for me. I love you, I care about you, but these are the boundaries that I have. So let me give you an example. Let's say that an addict stole money from you and went and bought drugs on the street and then used. So think about that. You're scared about their health and well-being, but now they've gone into your safe space. Let's say they went into your house and took money from you. And this might be your son, it might be your brother, it might be your sister. It's an awkward conversation to have, and they're not gonna wanna have it. But for you to say, you know what, you came into my bedroom, you took money from me, I'm sorry, but you can't come over to my house right now because I just don't trust you to be safe at my house. I'm worried that you could steal things from me. I'm still willing to go to lunch with you, to meet up with you, to talk with you all the time, but I can't have you over at my house. Now you might be thinking, that's unloving, that's mean, that's so hard. They need to understand that trust is built and earned, and that there are consequences to their behavior, even though they're struggling with an addiction. There is a difference between punishment and consequence. Punishment is just trying to inflict pain on them because they've hurt you. It's taking things too far. Consequence is being honest with them about what needs to happen because of the thing that happened. The consequence needs to fit the crime, and it needs to be in alignment with what actually happened. So, for example, I had a guy that I was working with and he relapsed, and his punishment was, I have to wake up at 5 a.m. every day and run 5 miles for a month. And I'm listening to this and I'm saying, what does that have to do with your relapse? And he said, well, I just need to feel uncomfortable and the pain because I relapsed. That's actually just beating himself up in shame. It's not helpful. It's just a punishment. As opposed to what I was talking about earlier, where the consequence is, I'm sorry you can't come over to my house right now because I just don't trust you because you just walked in my bedroom and stole money from me. So that's the consequence right now until we can rebuild trust again. All right, so you've shown up in love and compassion for them and their struggle. You're being honest with them about your emotions. You're holding boundaries and consequences. Now the next thing to do is to reinforce with love. I know I said it before, but reinforce with love. Let them know that it's hard for you to hold these consequences, that you care about them deeply and you want what's best for them. Now, it's common for an addict in this moment while you're having this conversation to play the victim and to turn it back on you, to tell you how horrible you are because you're having boundaries, and to try to get you to feel bad about yourself. And the reason why they're doing this is because they want to continue their addiction and they want to keep the relationship at the same time. And the addiction is starting to tear that relationship apart. And it's normal for a family member to give up their boundaries to try to keep the relationship, but it doesn't support your loved one. It actually hurts them. It helps them continue in their addiction if you don't hold those consequences and those boundaries with them. Lastly, it's important that you praise the wins. And what I mean by that is, if they relapsed, that's not a win, they relapsed. But if they got honest about their relapse, then point that out. If they were willing to talk to you and talk to you about hard things and talk to you about your boundaries and the consequences, then notice that. Thank them for that. Tell them that you see their strength, that you know that they can beat this, you know that they can move forward. But praise the wins. There may not be a more difficult position to be in than being the loved one of an addict. If you're the parent of an addict, if you're the spouse of an addict, it's excruciatingly difficult. It's so hard because it puts you in a position where you have to have boundaries, and we talk about tough love. Tough love is hard to have. So to be able to say, look, I love you, therefore I need to do this, is really difficult. Now remember, with tough love, it's not just being tough. It's not just being mean to the person. It's being honest, it's being boundaried, but it's also being loving at the same time. And that's what I've talked about in this video, is how to show up tough, but how to show up loving at the same time. That's the way that you support an addict after they've relapsed, and that's the way that you support them to get into recovery. Another thing to do if a loved one has relapsed is to reinforce your own recovery. So the more educated you can be about addiction recovery, heck, you're watching this video right now. So watching stuff like this, educating yourself, the other thing that you can do is get support. Get support from people who are going through similar things, who can back you up and who understand the difficult position that you're in. So reinforce your recovery because you're dealing with a difficult situation. The next thing that you need to do is check out my video, How to Talk to an Addict Who Has Relapsed. I give you specific communication skills and things that you can do to address the relapse. So go check it out.